Winter is finally here, and it brought with it some awesome moments. In Game of Thrones, it seems betrayal is one of the most common elements. They are often linked to losing characters we love or giving us some satisfying endings to some particularly nasty characters. However, sometimes we are completely thrown off and shocked by some of the seedy betrayals. Before we get started on our list, be sure to click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things CBR. This way, you won't have to wait for a raven to show up with news.
When the Queen proclaims one king and the Hand proclaims another, whose peace do the gold cloaks protect? The man who pays them.
Ned Stark and Littlefinger. The devilish Petyr Baelish has served as one of the villains of the series. In a scene in his brothel, he tells his employees that he's in love with Catelyn Stark and that he's gonna win by screwing everyone over, because only by admitting what you are can you really get what you want, and he wants everything. He sets a plan in motion when he says that the dagger that was used to attempt to kill Bran was actually Tyrion's. Lady Catelyn takes Tyrion prisoner, and as King Robert lays dying, Ned finds out the truth about Jaime and Cersei's children. He confides in Littlefinger and tells him the throne will pass on to Stannis. Littlefinger tells Ned to forget it and make peace with the Lannisters for now, and if Joffrey poses any issues down the line, then they reveal the truth about the rightful heir. When Joffrey is named king and Ned is called to the throne room, he encounters Varys and Petyr outside. Renly ran away and their plan is cracking, but at least he got the guards that Petyr promised him. But then all heck breaks loose and he's betrayed by the guards and Littlefinger, who tells him, "I did warn you not to trust me." Ned is imprisoned and the domino effect ensues.
I want what I came for. I want the crown he promised me.
Viserys Golden Crown. You may remember Daenerys' older brother, Viserys, who was not only borderline creepy, but was also totally entitled and a huge jerk. This silver-haired evil brother staked claim on the Iron Throne, as he was the last living male Targaryen. He called himself the Dragon, as you know the family sigil is a dragon. He sold Daenerys to Khal Drogo in order to gain his support and Dothraki army. But as Khal Drogo and Dany fell in love, and she begins to love the people, Viserys grows impatient. And when you're as disrespectful and power-hungry as Viserys was, some sort of karma is bound to clap back at you. Viserys attempts to steal the dragon eggs, but is thwarted by Ser Jorah. In a fit of drunken anger, he storms into the hut where everyone is partaking in festivities and threatens Dany and her unborn child. Now, Viserys has done a lot of dumb things, like hit Dany plenty of times, but this takes the cake. Upon seeing this, Khal Drogo decides to give him the gold crown he promised him, by melting down gold and pouring the burning liquid gold on his head. Well, yeah, that's one way to do it.
Your son has no claim to the throne.
Liar!
Joffrey and Ned Stark. The character you loved to hate the most was probably King Joffrey Baratheon, that insufferable boy king who was nothing short of just awful. He was brilliantly portrayed by actor Jack Gleeson, who made us hate the fictional character. Joffrey went from spoiled crybaby to terrifying tyrant in a matter of episodes, and it all turned even more serious during Ned's confession. Sansa was promised that her father would be sent to the wall. All he had to do was confess, and so for the good of the family, he confessed to committing treason, which of course, he was completely innocent. Oh boy, he was just too good for this world. The agreement that he would be let go if he admitted that Joffrey was his king, and as he did so in front of everyone, were deceived by Joffrey's smile and excitement. When Joffrey's asked what will become of Lord Eddard, he states what his mother and Sansa want him to do, but shocked us all by saying that he wanted his head. We all screamed and cried as the execution happened. We should have known never to trust the word of someone who has no redeeming qualities and is close to being just pure evil.
Save him and I will free you, I swear it. You must know a way. Some magic.
Daenerys and the Healing Witch. When Khaleesi is almost killed, Khal Drogo decides that he's going to take the Iron Throne for his unborn son. True to his word, he begins raiding villages, taking slaves to gift them to slavers in exchange for gold to buy ships to sail to Westeros. Dany stops them and saves some women and claims them as her helpers. This causes issue with the Dothraki, who claim the women as slaves. A fight ensues and Khal Drogo emerges as victor, but not before sustaining an injury. One of the women she helped was a healer and volunteers to treat his wound. Drogo's wound festers and he falls from his horse. As he lays dying in a tent, Dany summons the healer, who says there's no help for him. Dany insists on magic. While she's performing her blood magic, Khaleesi starts to go into labor, and she's brought into the tent. The ritual only returned Drogo to a vegetative state and her child to die in her womb. The healer did it as an act of revenge for the attack on her and her village. We cried internally when she saw Drogo in a vegetative state, and Khaleesi smothered him. But don't worry, Khaleesi got her revenge on the healer, and 3 dragons out of the process. The Red Wedding. When Robb and his men needed to keep marching forward, one thing stood in their way: Lord Walder Frey. So naturally, Lady Catelyn Stark finds a way to grant them crossing and giving him men. In exchange that Arya marry one of his sons and Robb marry one of his daughters. Robb agrees, but as fate would have it, he broke his word. He falls in love with Talisa and marries her instead. The episode features the wedding of Robb's uncle Edmure Tully to one of the daughters of Walder Frey. It seems like a bandage was put in the situation and the wedding goes on without a hitch. Talisa saying she will name her child Eddard Stark, and Catelyn even smiles. Everything's going well, except something's off. Catelyn notices Roose Bolton wearing chain armor under his clothes. She slaps him, and in a chaotic flash, Talisa is stabbed in the stomach. Robb is shot at with arrows. It's all just too much. Catelyn takes Walder's wife hostage to try to save Robb, but he's taken out by Roose, who says the Lannisters send their regards. Catelyn kills Walder's wife, and lastly, Catelyn herself is taken out. This is the biggest betrayal in all of Game of Thrones history. We're still reeling from it. What did you think?
They're laughing at me. The way Renly laughed at me. I want Joffrey dead. I want Robb Stark dead.
Stannis Baratheon's lust for power. After King Robert dies, everything goes berserk. His brother Renly claims the throne but is later killed by a creepy shadow baby. The shadow was birthed courtesy of the Red Woman, Melisandre. Yeah, we aren't going to try to explain that because we really don't know how it happened exactly, but we've learned not to question this show too much. During the War of the Five Kings, both Baratheon brothers knew that Joffrey wasn't the rightful heir, as he is Jaime's son and not King Robert's. So both of the remaining Baratheon brothers make a claim to the throne. Sibling rivalry at its best. Using blood magic, Melisandre has Renly killed via Shadow Demon. Yes, the one she gave birth to. Super weird. On a scale of 1 to 10, betraying your own brother is high up there. What could possibly be worse than that? Well, how about betraying your own child? In perhaps one of the most difficult scenes to watch, Stannis does the unthinkable. At the behest of Melisandre, he allows Shireen to be burned as a sacrifice to the Lord of Light to ensure victory after they were attacked by Ramsay Bolton. Don't worry, Stannis ends up losing anyway and gets some justice served to him via Brienne's sword.
I'm late for the trial.
Cerseis' revenge on the Sparrows. We all remember the famous and brutal walk of shame and atonement that Cersei had to endure not too long ago, right? Shame! 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 It's still ringing in our ears. This scene humanized the series' great villain in the eyes of many viewers. And although Cersei definitely needed some humbling, this shameful naked stroll through the kingdom did quite the opposite. This experience made her even angrier and hungrier for revenge. And boy, did she ever get it. She was to face the High Sparrow for her trial, but she had a very different plan in mind. While Queen Marjorie and her brother, Sir Loras Tyrell, faced their trial, there was a ton of wildfire under the Great Sept of Baelor just waiting. We see the candles melt in the puddle of green and boom! A fiery green explosion takes over and blows up the Sept and everyone in it. Her smirk of satisfaction is infectious as everything goes her way. She betrayed everyone in the Sept, but the biggest betrayal of all came from when King Tommen saw what happened. Poor Tommen not only lost his wife, but was betrayed by his mother. He then proceeds to jump to his death. The only good thing that came of her revenge is that she is now queen. Brothers in Black. One of the show's most noble and honorable characters is Jon Snow. He's honest and always tries to do the right thing. Following the Battle of Castle Black, Jon is elected the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. After spending some time with the wildlings during a mission, Jon grows to sympathize with them. He believes that both the men of the Night's Watch and the wildlings are Northerners and descended from the First Men. Jon was only able to save a few thousand wildlings at Hardhome, and with the coming threat of the White Walkers, Jon suggests they all make peace with the wildlings. But this belief isn't shared by all, especially Alliser Thorne, who is not happy about Jon being Lord Commander. We know Sir Alliser Thorne has hated Jon Snow since he arrived at the Wall, so it's no surprise that Thorne instigates a mutiny. Jon's personal steward Ollie tells him that they have new information about his uncle Benjen. Jon follows only to be surrounded by Thorne, Bowen, Yarwick, and others. They take turns at stabbing him in the stomach as they say, "For the Watch." Ollie delivers the final blow to his heart. Although the betrayal was shocking, the mutineers face justice by hanging, and Jon Snow was of course resurrected.
Crown may call its next witness.
Tyrion and Shae. After the Red Wedding, you would think Game of Thrones would have their fill of murderous wedding parties, right? Well, no. Joffrey is poisoned via his wine and dies at the wedding. Although the moment was satisfying for most fans, the aftermath sure wasn't. Tyrion was accused of murder by Cersei and has to stand trial. Jaime makes a plea to his father to spare his brother's life. They agree, and while the trial is happening, everything seems to go okay for Tyrion, until Shae enters the room. Shae was Tyrion's lover, and after he was forced to marry Sansa, he sent her away to try to protect her. Just when we thought she was gone and living a happy life, she comes in and says that he and Sansa planned the murder together as revenge for the Starks being killed. Seeing Tyrion's face as he watches Shae betray him is enough to make our hearts hurt. But of course, that wasn't the end of it. Jaime helps him escape, but instead of leaving, he heads over to his father's chambers and finds Shae in his bed. An even worse betrayal. She grabs a knife, they fight, and he ends up strangling her. The worst part of it is his completely broken face. And then he kills his father. Man, that's dark.
After she murders you, what does she become?
Lady of Winterfell.
Petyr Baelish and Sansa Stark. The last episode of Season 7 brought us one of the most satisfying episodes to date. The most treacherous character is Lord Petyr Baelish. After having his little fingers in pretty much every horrible thing that happens in the show, we're always waiting for him to get some justice. Episode 6 of Season 7, we saw Sansa and Arya being manipulated by Littlefinger. In his creepy infatuation with Sansa, he was finally able to get her to trust him. She was beginning to be genuinely afraid of Arya, and he was successfully turning the sisters against each other, or so he thought. In one of the most satisfying betrayals, Sansa brings Arya into the Great Hall in front of all the Northern Lords. Just when it seems like Sansa is about to betray her sister and is listing off the accusations, she names Lord Petyr Baelish as the accused. It was so shocking, even Petyr was shocked. Everything he's ever done was laid out on the table because, hey, Bran is the three-eyed raven and knows it all. The most shocking part of this is while he's pleading for his life, Arya comes over and slices his throat with the same knife he used to start all the problems. Arya is awesome.
I believe that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Well, don't get used to it.
Well, what do you think of those betrayals? Were you shocked at it all? Which of those surprised you the most while you were watching the show? Did you expect any of them? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share, and check out more awesome videos like this on our playlist. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and keep up to date with the latest news from CBR. And as always, thanks for watching.